So in this video, I'm going to be going over something that I've only recently found, and that is a CIA document. This CIA document has everything, goes over everything that we've been speaking about in the videos. So I'm super excited to share this. So I'm going to put a link to this document in the channel's description of this video, so check that out down below. And this document is called The Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. And it was written the 9th of June 1983, and it was only released in 2003. So this document goes over what the gateway process is. First, let's go over a recap from that last video. If you remember, we was looking at the double slit experiment. It showed how light and matter can both be classically defined as both waves and particles. And I know there's a lot on here, so first I'm just going to go over what I've drew and then we can tie it all together. So I've got the 3 from the material sector, also energy, the 6 from the cosmic sector, also frequency, and the 9 of infinity or source, which is also vibration. And it's the vibration that is carried by the energy and the frequency choices that creates the kind of shaping of what we have as our reality. And it all channels through into the material sector and into the inner kind of grid of our energy vessel. So this is obviously light, or the waveform of light, and this is kind of like consciousness, but more so the rate of push. So all matter and everything within this universe is being pushed out of one singularity point. And it's the rate of push that changes the speed of light through the different density areas of the universe. Dependent on where you are within the universe, light has a different speed to it, which is why this line isn't the speed of light necessarily, because this light can move faster in different parts based off push or expansion. This is that zero or singularity point that's in the center of your physical form and also connects to your energetic forms. We can think of this is kind of time-space, and this is space-time looking into time-space. First thing I want to mention is All is Mental, again from the Kundalini, which is a great book. If you haven't read it, do so. And this principle is literally, I'll read it. Got it? All is mind, the universe is mental. So this principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is substantial reality, underlining all the outward manifestations and appearances, which we know under the terms of the material universe, the material sector, the phenomena of life, matter and energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as an universal, infinite living mind. Ooh. So here I have the kind of crown chakra, that is the antenna that is receiving information from your soul and your higher self. And all of that information filters through to this point here, and this is the third eye. So when the third eye is closed, then your awareness is collapsed solely into the material sector, where your perception is shaped from the less than 1% of visible light that our eyes are able to detect. And the divine paradox, which is also in the Kybalion, is a reminder for that half-truth of living solely from the physical eyes. Everything has that ebb and flow, and when you're living solely from the ebb or solely from the flow, then you're out of balance and you're out of harmony and you're out of sync. It's almost like the 9 filters down and through the perception of the 3 or the material sector and the 6 of the cosmic sector. When those two components are in harmony and are operating like a reciprocal system that ebbs and flows between itself for that expansion and contraction, then the third eye is able to kind of become the slide selector of which vibration you want to drop yourself into in the now moment. So the double slit experiment, if we think this as being kind of slide, and our physical eyes are the two slits that the light is going through, but the waveform is picked up from outside of that slide projector. So if we think of the mind as being the kind of wall that is dropping shadow and light based off of the filters that are going on inside the brain, and how in sync the brain is able to harmonise with itself, then that is what pushes the vibration out. So your thoughts and your emotions are literally what shapes your reality. I'll be referring to my CIA document for this one, I reckon. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this. So the consciousness matrix. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest, some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Carl Pribram, a neuroscientist of Stanford University, and David Bowen, physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram, which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. They're pretty much saying that the physical eyes pick up on the motion or the electromagnetic fields. So there's energy in motion and then there's energy in stillness. So the mind is almost like suspended in a field of consciousness that's always in motion. So when they say find inner stillness, inner peace, it's the consciousness. So it's that consciousness that's bringing that inner peace, and it's filtering it through to your interim, or the kind of gridding in based off of what you're now oscillating in, with the vibration that creates that kind of shape of the energy whilst in a frequency motion. And it's that like oscillation wave that your projection is kind of still within. So you know how like the double slit experiment, the physical eyes, it's like the two slits, and they are literally picking up on the information that's moving. And then the mind's eye, which is understanding what's happening from a non-biased point of view, or in a strictly data reading way, sees that data drop onto its back shelf or like its back wall, and it sees the pattern, so it sees the choices that it's making, and it's also able to change the slide based off of the results that it's seeing. So if we think of the mind as being that kind of electrostatic field that consciousness is projecting its light and its shadow onto. So there's two things that I want to mention here that might help. The first is perception. Yes, this is a pyramid. If we imagine for a moment that the mind is like a 2D lens, and understanding the gridding, the kind of grid-like nature of that lens is what creates the perception. The awareness of those fields' linearity point in that kind of dimensional experience. Information gathered so that we can understand what our space is. We then have a velocity measure which goes up or down within that one grid. And this is also used a lot in string theory models to show that kind of movement of free will. So whilst my physical form is encased in the perception, my spiritual form is able to move or oscillate up and down based off of the perspective I'm able to create for myself from that perception. So the perspective is the kind of 3D model that the perception creates. And balancing the left and the right hemispheres create that Hemi-Sync that this document speaks about, that can enter you into different altered states of consciousness. Not only that, but also dimensions in between. Now that we have postulated the legitimacy of the assertion that the energy forms which compose consciousness can move beyond the time-space dimension, we need to turn our attention to the energy forms which inhabit those dimensions between time-space and the absolute. So the Law of One has some brilliant content on light, and the understanding that each chakra point is literally like a light ray. So light is an energy and light is given a frequency. And I've put this on and this off just to represent that kind of the polarity and then the divine paradox being that central point. And Russ Rath is a brilliant YouTuber who can speak about non-duality in the mindset to help you translate it into the very physical reality. So duality or polarity is an option within the material sector, and that's because of the channel that you've taken to get here. So your light has been dipped into and folded back onto itself to create a kind of gravitational field for it to embody. Most people fluctuate in and out of conscious states throughout their day without even realising it. And it even says in this document that someone with 20 years experience in meditation was only able to withstand that Hemi-Sync state for 20 minutes intervals. So don't be too disheartened, it will take a bit of practice, but it's just a CIA document that has been released with their findings from the experiments that they was asked to do on this gateway experience. And I believe that there was something like $21 million that was actually pumped into this. So it's worth looking into. And there's a lot of different concepts out there that have also had similar kind of funding from the government that speak about this kind of idea of this holographic universe. Remember that the term holograph is only a term for 3D depiction of light. So don't let term analogies or concepts or any labels put you off looking further into a concept. If you do read that document, drop your thoughts, let me know what you thought. If you check out any of the other stuff, let me know again what you thought. I'm really curious to see what it is that resonates with you, and if you have anything that you want to add to this. And just to finalise, so the frequencies that we feed ourselves in this material sector through the senses and the very physical form is what shapes our reality through the vibrational experience that that field of frequency then drops us into, and then we oscillate within that based off of what we have in that internal grid or the interim. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.